When you're just starting out with reed making, it can be a little overwhelming knowing what tools to use. And I wanted to provide a little bit of insight for you today on different kinds of plaques. Now, these are 5 of my plaques, and I tend to gravitate mostly towards this one. As you can tell, if you look at it, you can see it's various colors now where the metal has worn off a little bit, where I've scraped. But I have them in order from the thinnest flat plaque to the thickest contour plaque. And you'll notice that if I go from the thinnest to the thickest, let's see, do a side by side. It's kind of hard to tell, but this one has a little bit more of a belly. This one's also thicker. It's a little bit of a belly. You can tell this one is much thinner. Now, also, these are different, made of different materials. So this is metal, which is why it's so shiny, and this is actually wood. Now, if you notice, you can tell it's wood. It has all these little grooves in it from the natural wood, but you can also tell where my knife has gone off the tip and made little bitty markings, and I'm not going to quite say indentions because I can't catch my fingernail in them, but you can tell it's been used. Now, okay, I want to show you what it looks like if you put a reed in. So with your reed soaked, oh, this is not an oboe mandrel. That's an English ornament. Okay, so with your reed soaked, let's put in the lighter color plaque. This is the flat plaque. If you can hear that beeping outside, someone's car alarm is going off. Okay, so take a look at this. If your reed is soaked and you gently press on the plaque, you should be able to see the different shadings, and the thicker places, or the places that aren't dark, are the places you really need to see where it's thicker. So those are the thicker places of the reed. So doing this and checking the shading with your plaque can really tell you a lot about where you need to scrape next. Now notice with this wider plaque, it doesn't look super different. There's nothing super dark, no super thin areas that I notice. But compare that to the next size up, which is also a flat plaque, same dimensions. It's just a darker color metal. Now let's look at the difference. Wow. That is a huge difference. You can see, the thinner places on the side. You can really see through the cane. So again, here's the lighter one. So already, when you're looking, I can tell you, I would aim to find something that's darker than this, because this one you're not going to be able to see the true shadings. Now this one, I do feel is a little dark. Maybe a little darker for my liking, but it gets the job done. It's definitely better than this flat plaque because it's darker. This is my favorite. It's kind of the best of both worlds. It's a little bit thicker than a true flat plaque, just a little bit, but it's nowhere near the size of this contour plaque. Now, when I put my plaque in my reed, I love that. I love that color because you can see the thicker places and the thinner places pretty clearly on this one. And it also hugs a little bit closer to the cane because it's got a little bit of a belly. So when I use my knife and I press into it, it won't take much to actually feel like I'm making contact with the plaque, because when you use your pointer finger to hold the plaque in place, you should be able to scrape. I'm not going to scrape this because this is a finished reed, so but you should be able to scrape easily and not feel like you have to press down. If you're using a thinner plaque, it has a little more wiggle room, like so. You can kind of see at the top. So you really have to make sure you're using your pointer finger to help give you some security as you scrape into the reed. Okay, moving right along, this one is the contoured plaque. So this has got more of a belly in the center, and that's going to fit more snugly in my reed, which you can tell it does. And this can be really good, actually. I love using contours for English horn reeds in particular because there's more space. So having something that fills that space more is really nice. But I also like using it here because you can really see the thin places and the thick places. And it feels very secure when I scrape because this is not moving around so much. Now when I go to the wooden one, the wooden contour, I'm not as big of a fan of this one because it's hard to see the thinner places. It all looks kind of thick to me. And part of that, maybe my reed's a little dry, but when I tilt up, I don't see a whole lot of difference. Now when I go to my favorite plaque, a little dry. It looks so much thinner on that side, whereas it looked pretty thick before, but it was a little dry. So let's be fair. Okay, it looks better now that it's soaked. This is still not my favorite because I do find I scrape the wood and it doesn't feel good on my knife. I feel like I'm scraping into wood instead of being able to glide off the surface of the tip. Because when you work in the tip, you should really be able to like sweep at the very edge, like you're going up, so that way you don't dig into it and create chop the tip off on accident, but you're using nice, delicate, because you should really be able to go off the edge of the tip to make it super duper thin, because that's where you're articulating, where your tongue is hitting the reed. Okay, so that is my demonstration of plaques. I think it's good to have a variety. Try what works for you. These are relatively inexpensive, just a few dollars. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen one more than $10. So usually you can get them just a couple dollars, like maybe $2. But yeah, try a flat plaque, try a medium plaque if you can find it, or a thinner contour plaque. Now, one last thing before we sign off today, you'll notice all of these are pointy. They also make ones that are a little more rounded and less pointy. And I prefer the pointy ones. I don't have a round one to show you, but I prefer the pointy ones because when you're putting it in your reed, in between the two blades, it's less you have to put in this delicate little opening and risk, hitting the side of it. If it's more rounded, you have a wider surface area you have to put in at first. So I hope that was helpful, and let me know below what kind of plaques you prefer. And if you happen to know where these plaques are, these are kind of that middle of the road, thinner towards a flat plaque, but not quite a full contour. Let me know, because I actually can't find these anymore. So I'd love to know if you've found any that you like. All right, I will see you next time. Bye.